Welcome to the Gearwire.com Crosstalk podcast for Friday, September 1st. I'm your host, Mike Payne, and I'm joined by Drew Cragg.
Howdy.
Mr. Britton Weatherald.
This sucks.
I'm just kidding. This is the lovely Dan Augusto sitting next to me.
Lovely.
Actually, so far, Britton has not been available today, and hopefully he'll come join us in a little bit, but we're going to move on right along without him. So it'll be a cheery podcast until that happens. First up, we got some industry news this week for a change. Universal Music Group is starting a free music service, ad-supported, called SpiralFrog, and we're going to discuss that in a little bit. Also, we've got some news on Microsoft's so-called iPod killer, the Zune. Some details on that and images were leaked earlier this week, so we'll be taking a close look at those. Last, just now, Myspace announced today that they'll be selling music for the nearly 3 million bands that are registered on their social network. Gearwire.com Crosstalk crew will take a look at all these, and as always, we invite you to participate. Go to the forums at forums.gearwire.com, send us a message or an email at crosstalk@gearwire.com, and we'll chat with you about that. Moving on, Gearwire received some excellent viewer mail a few weeks back. We wanted to discuss some of the issues that were brought up. First of all, one of our viewers has a comparison of classic synths and software synths at his site, and we'll be taking a quick look at that. Also, we had some Gearwire viewers point out some C64 emulators. Britton, a couple weeks ago, asked for if anybody knew about any Commodore 64 emulators, and sure enough, we had some viewers right away in a heartbeat send us some of those. So we'll be taking a look at those.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Last, we've got an in-studio review of the Gibson Les Pauls this week. People should be pretty excited about that.
They're nice.
Our review last week of the classic Mini Moog versus the new Mini Moog Voyager had been really popular, so we decided to do something special for the guitarists this week. So we've got the Gibson Les Paul Studio, the Gibson Les Paul GT, and the Gibson Les Paul Historic Collection 1957 Custom Black Beauty. You guys excited?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So a few reminders before we get started. I did mention that if you want to get in touch with us, send us an email at crosstalk@gearwire.com, and we might even discuss it on the air, as we will today. Also, Gearwire.com forums are growing fast. Again, visit us at forums.gearwire.com, and if you want to discuss the podcast, go to the Crosstalk section, and you can talk to us live on there. A follow-up from last week, we've got a new site feature at Gearwire.com, the Gear Insider. Gearwire goes in-depth with developers and product specialists, and we check out the Gear Insider at Gearwire.com. First up, the industry news we want to discuss this week. Universal Music Group is to start an ad-supported free music site called SpiralFrog. This service will not allow CD burning. All songs will be in WMA format, which is not compatible with an iPod. A strange twist to that, the first major label band that agreed to be featured on iTunes was U2, who is a Universal Music Group artist, and it'll be kind of interesting to see how that all plays out. This competition could be very good for fans and musicians alike, so it'll be interesting to take a look at that. Also, in industry news, details and images from Microsoft's so-called iPod killer were leaked earlier this week. Apparently, the Zune is manufactured by Toshiba, and it features a 30-gigabyte hard drive, an FM radio receiver, a 3-inch LCD screen, and USB and wireless connectivity. It's a little step up from the iPod. We've got some negative and positive things to say about that. We have an image of that we can share on the air as well. We'll pull that up in a second once we're ready to discuss that. Last, the news about Myspace. They announced earlier today that they will be selling music on behalf of the 3 million musicians that are registered and have profiles on Myspace social network. In exchange for a small distribution fee, which has not yet been set, musicians can sell their music on Myspace. Myspace will eventually be selling copy-protected songs from major labels, but so far that hasn't happened quite yet. They're still working out the details on that. This is pretty big news, even more so than the SpiralFrog news and, even Zune,
Yeah,
just the fact that...
Just coming out, too.
Right, and that there's a big, competitor, finally, for iTunes. Myspace already has the pull behind it, the community behind it, so it could be pretty interesting to see how it all plays out. My concern on this is you guys get a lot of band spam on there, 1 million band friend invites and comments.
It's probably going to get worse.
Imagine how bad that's going to be.
Most of them suck, too. So stop asking. Seriously.
So let's discuss this. First of all, the SpiralFrog by Universal Music Group.
I wonder where they got the name on that one, just throwing that out there. But
It's a dumb name.
Yeah.
But think it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure exactly how profitable it'll be.
Right.
Certainly don't like the format.
The WMA.
Just not
No.
that.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
if there's some way we could just put Apple and Microsoft in a ring and just have them duke it out,
That'd be great.
that would solve it all. wouldn't
Sure.
it? It's like,
Well, let the games begin.
Right.
yeah. Ding.
Have you guys, is SpiralFrog live yet? Have you guys?
I don't believe so. I believe it's just been announced. I
Okay.
haven't seen. I mean, the information on it I think just came out. I think earlier this week. So
Okay.
I think we're waiting on it. It's just been announced as a program, and a lot of the details have not yet been released yet. Basically, but I mean the big thing is it's going to be WMA format. I mean not CD burnable. That's something, but we're probably going to see the phasing out of the CD in a few years or so, 5-6 years maybe.
Sweet.
So that's not a huge deal. But
Right.
yeah, definitely the fact I think this and the Zune are related in obvious ways.
Right.
Just because if people are on this free music site, they're going to have to get an MP3 player besides the iPod or a music player besides the iPod, and what better than to go with the one that comes out from like the same company.
Right. Do we have a picture of the Zune we can take a look at since we brought that up?
Right. This is the Zune. So basically, you can see the screen is a bit bigger. I mean, it's really not as cool looking as the iPod, I would say.
Right.
It just looks like
it is nice the screen size. I did read that the jog wheel is actually not a jog wheel. It's actually just buttons. It's not a touch sensitive like the iPod.
Oh, I like that.
I know everybody does. It's a cool little gimmick, but I mean, I love it on my iPod. The major differences between this and the iPod are the wireless connectivity, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
You know,
That is cool.
the radio stuff.
The
and the FM receiver.
Yeah, in features, it definitely has the iPod Beat.
Right.
But I mean, as far as market, are you going to be able to like bring your iTunes library? All these people have huge iTunes library. Are you going to be able to bring your playlist into a Zune if you've already, gotten into the brand of Apple?
I would hope that they had worked out some way of exporting into some other proprietary software.
Yeah, maybe not. That's yet to be seen.
Right.
But just seeing as Apple already has such a huge market share of people, of customers.
Very good point.
It could be hard seeing this thing go anywhere, and I think be possibly a flop. Go the way of the Betamax.
So do I. Aside from the Zune, there are a lot of other competitors to the iPod that don't have much market share. They're just smaller pieces, like the Creative Zen, iRiver.
There's a lot of them, but I mean, all those have standard formats, MP3s, stuff like that. I mean,
right.
Having just one format and saying that's exclusive to this device, that's kind of...
Yeah, well, that's the Zune. I think will play MP3s and other formats, or I'm not sure if they'll play like OOCs or whatever. OG. Yeah. I don't own an iPod. I'm probably like the only one who doesn't own one yet. But oh gosh, where I was going.
Well, it is. There isn't going to be a lot of competition between this and the iPod because it's competing with these other things too, and it has to differentiate itself from those other products like the iRiver or the Digital River and things like or iRiver and things like that. But I don't know. I think that iPod is so synonymous with mobile music that anything else is just going to be less.
They definitely need to match Microsoft in marketing. Because
match Apple.
Yeah. Microsoft needs to match Apple in marketing.
They've done a great job.
And Apple's marketing right now is just killing, I think, everyone.
Right.
But with the Mac PC commercials, those spots are doing really good.
Those commercials.
I do too, but they're really popular,
right.
Getting a lot of attention, and I just think Apple has Microsoft beat as far as marketing and possibly as far as image being cool.
I'm a Mac. I'm a PC. I can play video games. Not that any of us busy musicians have time for that.
Yeah,
But so the biggest news about this whole issue this week is Myspace. allowing their musicians to sell their own music through MySpace.
Yeah, this is going to change everything, I think. Mm-hmm. It's really because just MySpace has so many members. Everyone's on it. Like,
right.
I can go on there and just find basically anyone I've ever known.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. Except for like
it
parents.
Is freaky.
It's a little too early for me to think and speculate on what this is going to do to the music industry, but obviously it just cuts out it's almost like labels will need to become promotion entities to prevent some of these artists to falling into obscurity or falling into total saturation, because there's going to be so many choices on there. How are these artists going to be able to differentiate themselves on that network to these musicians or to the fans?
That's we've talked about this before, really.
Right,
and
right.
You really just got to play,
Yeah.
That's the best way to promote yourself. And then having the MySpace there is really just makes it easy to find you once people know about you. But
right.
promoting yourself on MySpace, I mean, what people are doing now, they have the automatic Be My Friend machines that go around to every single person's page and say, hey, be my friend. It has a little canned response. It's like, you might like my music. I saw you like music,
Yeah.
Dude, come on,
Right.
It's like you didn't write that,
Yeah.
You wrote it once and then it went to everybody.
Yeah, even just the people, like a lot of them aren't even using bots. I get a lot of just weird messages like, please be my friend, please.
Yeah.
And check out the band, and it's just annoying as hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't stand it, and I can only see it getting worse unless they have some technology in place from preventing these bands from spamming you with messages and Autobots like you mentioned and otherwise. I mean, I'm already bombarded by so many bands, I don't even give them a chance to listen, although I did find this French rapper the other day.
Sweet.
This girl, she's like 19, 20, named Agony, and she has this song, I forgot what it's called, Blew Me Away, like really like
Sweet.
Soft and amazing stuff.
I always give them a listen. I always give them the benefit of the doubt and check them out. And
yeah.
Like I said earlier, most of them suck. So
yeah.
Well, that's nice. Yeah. Another interesting thing I think that's going on in this story is it brings News Corp to the table,
right?
In the ring with Universal and Apple, and that's another thing, another like section of the. Of media that Rupert Murdoch has his hands deep into.
It's a spook fest.
Yeah.
Scary. Well.
So let's talk about something else.
Yeah, let's move on.
That sounds good.
All right. So we got some really good viewer mail a couple weeks ago on two issues. First of all, the Commodore 64 emulators, which actually Britain had asked about, and we had a few listeners write in and mention those and show us some really cool plugins. So we will discuss those pretty briefly. But also we wanted to take a look at one of our Crosstalk viewers' websites. One of our viewers runs a fantastic website for software synth heads with a love for all things vintage and reproduced. Crosstalk viewer Roland, kind of perfect name for a synth lover. Roland runs a site called studio-compyfox.de. That's studio-compyfox.de. And we'll show that on the screen right here. Perfect. This site catalogs classic synths from early ARPs to classic Yamahas and compares them to software emulations of these classics. If you have an old synth you're dying to play or hear, check out studio-compyfox.de. Roland's site will help you connect with the classic with a new emulated synth. We'll check that out. Do we have that up right here?
All right, so if we take a look on the site, it's pretty large. I'll just scroll down to random section. And here at the top we see the EMS Synthy AKS.
Lovely.
We all like that one.
Uh-huh.
Right here we see software rebuild. So there's a couple of things he recommends. One is the Les Synthy version 3. He just has tons of synths up here, and it's a really great way, I think, to sort of visually interact with like a free synth page. There's tons of free synth pages out there, and this one just kind of has a new way of approaching it, and I really think it's pretty cool.
Was
really
that
awesome.
Was that Synthy freeware?
Yeah, that was free.
A
lot of them are free.
See you guys later.
Go. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
But
All right. Well, then there were two.
yeah. So how's it going?
Is there any other free stuff on there? Yeah, let's do it.
You doing anything this weekend?
I couldn't leave.
Thanks for coming back, man.
Yeah,
You're welcome. Absolutely.
So if we take a look at the bottom of the page here, we just scroll down to a random page. We see the Hammond B3 organ. So here we see software rebuilds again. These are all things that are just made to be like the original synth. Down here we see a DSP solution. These are ones that are that do other things, but you can get the sound out of it. And this also has a hardware interface. So the DSP solutions are a little different than the rebuilds, which is pretty cool. A lot of the creamware stuff. And we love the creamware stuff here. And then down at the bottom, we see alternatives. And these are usually like romplers. Right here, we see sound fonts, organized trio. So these are almost always just free ones that, while they're not necessarily rebuilds, and you won't be able to get like as close as like the Native Instruments B3, these do a good job of getting sounds pretty close. So that's
nice.
The Compyfox page. Definitely check it out.
Yeah,
if you're interested.
We'll put a link to that up on the Crosstalk page for this specific podcast. If you guys want to check that out, we'll put a link up there. And thanks again, Roland.
That's badass. That's really badass.
Moving on, we had a few viewers write in and mention that they found some Commodore 64 plugins, some emulators that we had discussed a few weeks ago. Britton on air had mentioned that he wanted to see a couple of those, and right away in a heartbeat, some of our Gearwire Crosstalk viewers sent in a few of those, including Roland himself from Compyfox.de. Let's take a look really quick. First, we got the Quantum 64, which is a free, pseudo emulator inspired by the Commodore 64. You can check that out at kvraudio.com/git/311.html. Also, there's the quadraSID, and that is 4 SID chips are emulated within that soft synth. The full version runs $59.99, and that is available at refx.net. If you go to refx.net and search for quadraSID, one word, you can see that. And we'll put some pictures up on this Crosstalk podcast
that one,
for you to view.
The quadraSID is supposed to be a lot more like an emulator, whereas the Quantum 64, it's something like that. It kind of would be like an alternative.
Okay.
I believe actually those two are up on Roland's page, the Compyfox page.
Sweet. Thanks again, Roland. All right. Last but certainly not least, every guitarist stream, we've got 3 Gibson Les Pauls here that we're going to do a quick comparison of. We've got our own very own guitar god, Drew Cragg, who's going to audition these pieces for us. We've got the Gibson Les Paul Studio, the Les Paul GT, and the Les Paul... What's that?
The historic Black Beauty,
1957.
This is the is this ebony, or is this like a burgundy red?
Probably call it deep wine or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And so
it's the neck pickup right here.
Aren't here? I'm gonna turn off the chorus.
Thank you.
So this is just a clean patch. Isn't the difference between like the studio and the classic ones like they have a different top or something like that?
You're asking the wrong guy.
We'll have to check that out.
Right.
This is a great guitar. I think I've played this one before, haven't I?
I believe you played most of these before at some point.
Right.
This one feels a lot very familiar.
I think there's actually a video of Drew sort of walking through this guitar. We'll put the link up on our page, of course.
Here, I'll give you a little bridge pickup.
I'm going to put you through a different, heavier patch. You ready to do some rock and roll?
Yeah, let's
Sweet.
do this.
This one. So, of course, this is going through a pod.
Don't tell Britton.
So we do have some tube emulation going on. This is a Brit J800 with a little bit of I believe just a little bit of reverb on it.
I haven't listened to punk all weekend.
So it rocks.
Yeah, this guitar definitely rocks.
Yeah, let me take a look at some of the specs on this guy.
And the sustain.
If you were playing, you'd hear it.
It's still sustaining.
So let's see. Just looking at, I wanted to figure out the pickups on this. So this is a 490R in the neck and a 498T Alnico. They're both Alnico magnet humbuckers. Pretty standard Les Paul sort of thing for ones that are coming out these days. Let's try another patch, slightly cleaner. Here we go. And this is also British J800 emulation. Did you want to move on? Let me turn down the volume. All right.
Let's check out that GT.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. As we can see, it's got the flame decal.
Right, it's hot.
This lets you play a lot faster. Let's see what I'm talking about in a minute.
All right, so we're on the same sort of...
Oh, we're still doing
same thing we left off on, the Brit J800. I'll go to the clean sound, see if we can hear some more difference there. All right, this is the same clean sound we started off.
Wow.
Sounds like there's a little more twang, even in that neck pickup. Let's take a look at these specs. I'm just on the Gibson page. They have great spec sheets. Look at this. Okay, 490R chrome in the neck, so a little bit more treble to that. And a 498T smoky coil. And these they both have wired or coil tapping, it seems. You can pull out some of the... So that's like in single coil mode? That's weird because I didn't know you could coil tap covered pickups.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
It might be a tone thing. It doesn't really... Let's see.
That's actually
it's coil tapped.
A really sweet feature, man, for Gibson.
Yeah.
To be able to get your James Brown on.
Definitely.
You know, that's actually really cool.
You guys know that if Britton was here, he'd be singing along right now.
Ooh, baby, get my James Brown on.
Sweet. Yeah.
So that's a lot more twang for sure. You want to hear that bridge pickup? Yeah. I have a problem a lot of times in the band that I'm in. I play a Strat, and our other guitarist, he plays like a Les Paul, like a fake Les Paul.
Okay.
One of the problems is sometimes when we're doing like sort of funkier songs, he can't get that tone, or he has to just really have to change the style of his playing, and something like this would be awesome.
You really need a single coil to get that.
Yeah.
To really get it.
Definitely.
To truly get it.
So
what's the price on this one?
Oh yeah, this one. It's $25.49.
Chump change.
Yeah. I'll buy 5.
Right.
One in each color. I believe this is Candy Orange is the name of the finish. And let's see how it distorts.
Let's do that.
All right.
Got a lighter?
Are you using the middle position, both humbuckers.
There we go.
How's this one feel compared to the studio?
Actually, it feels better. Believe it or not, it feels great. The action's great. I always love Gibson necks. You know, I mean, it's a huge hunk of wood and it sounds freaking sweet. Crazy sustain too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's the test I gave the other guitar. Just an F bar chord here.
We're gonna be here for a while.
Yeah, it just goes.
Nice.
There's no feedback there because it's going right into a pod. It's just singing.
Mahogany body.
This thing's heavy as hell.
Maple top.
Still going.
Mahogany neck.
See how long we can keep it.
Ebony fingerboard.
That's basically it.
Wow.
It's a good 20 seconds or so.
Right.
Just kidding.
Man,
thing is a lot
you
of
make
fun.
me want to grow my hair out, Drew.
All
So what do you guys think? Should we check out the Black Beauty?
Sure does. That's another nice feature.
What's that?
Got a little push pin so your jack will never come out.
So if you step on your cord, you're all right.
You might trip though. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can find the spec page on this.
This thing is a beast.
Yeah.
Woo.
It looks classic.
It's a workout just picking this guitar up.
Right.
I believe
I'm
that
just
one
a
is
weak
aged.
guy, but come on. This thing is a chunk of wood.
Here, let me see if I can find the weight. Start on the clean one. Already
Butter.
hear a bit more smoothness.
Butter.
Just right off the bat. The GT was definitely more treble, a little more brittle. This one's just smooth all the way through.
Plays very smooth too.
How much does that smoothness go for, financially speaking?
Smoothness doesn't come cheap. $42.99 street.
Wow.
The things that they don't have on the Gibson page is the weight. I can't see it. I may just be...
Wow.
That's the center position. The bridge. This guitar gets a great jazz tone.
Sure does. The Crosstalk Ensemble.
All right, that's enough of that. I can't take that any longer. Let's
I could do that all day, just listening.
Let's turn up the gain a little bit to our...
Uh-oh.
That's awesome.
Response sounds really nice, even though we're going through a tube emulator. classic.
Badass.
Let's go to the heavy distortion.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. A little bit of tuning.
That's just badass.
Wow.
Yeah, that's big. That's fat. Which pickup are the neck? I mean, bridge.
It screams.
Flawless.
Very nice. Yeah.
Just screams. When you do the artificial harmonics with this guitar, it just kind of takes over.
What do you guys think in general of like the aging process, and like do you think that do you think that makes this guitar worth more? Like the whole like
I don't know much about that. Can you explain it a little?
Well, if you look at like the headstock, and you can see there's like
very carefully to really see
there's some scratches. It's just been aged.
It almost looks like it was like sandblasted.
Kind of, yeah. Right. Kind of like what I mean. I know Fender does that, where they have guys who just play it and age guitars. Like this is how it came. We haven't mistreated it at all, of course, because I mean then we'd be out. What? 40,
I remember when I first
300.
played this one, I was amazed that it was a brand new guitar. I couldn't believe it. Like, I mean,
it's like it's so much heavier. I can't find the specs on it, but
completely. But it's it's if you look at it very closely, if you get an opportunity to look at this finish very closely, you'll see exactly what we're talking about.
It's almost like the original trim was white, but they put it in a room and they smoked a bunch of cigarettes around it for like 2 years.
That's kind of what it's like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's no tobacco on it or whatever, but it certainly has that look like it's been aged.
Right.
Definitely. Do you think that makes it worth more? Back to the original question.
Hey,
I personally like
it's like blue jeans,
I like to build up my own
put a
character
hole in
my
it,
guitars.
Add $50 to it.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, there's actually another 3 pickup model in their historic line called the 3 pickup original spec custom Les Paul. And the only difference I could find in the two is the tuning pegs. This has the kidney bean tuning pegs, whereas the other one has like the floret or whatever tuning pegs that you'd see on the studio that we just played.
Okay,
that's really the only difference. But yeah, this guitar screams rock and roll to me.
Totally.
I can't see being on stage with it for more than 5 minutes though. This thing is heavy as heck. It's like twice as heavy as the other two.
It's a lot of guitar. I mean, I have some small back problems, probably from playing an over the strap instrument or over the shoulder instrument. Man, I love Gibsons, but you only see me play them in the studio because this is exactly how I play them, sitting on my leg.
Well, if you can afford one of those, you can afford to pay somebody to hold it for you while you're playing.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
They do have stands.
They do.
That's true.
But usually
that's not rock and roll. That's like the opposite.
You're right.
What is the opposite of rock and roll? Easy listening? Right. Smooth jazz? I mean, not that we hate smooth jazz, But, well, we do.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. That concludes the Crosstalk podcast for Friday, September 1st. Again, I'm your host, Mike Payne, and we got the guitar god, Drew Cragg, and the wonderful Dan Augusto. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Tune in next week for more gear news, how-tos, reviews, and whatnot. Woody banter, too. Thanks, everybody.
Shoo-ba-doo-wah.
Yeah.
Cool.